want. We're nothing for ourselves.
This is the fourth video in the Feminism and Prostitution series of videos I'm doing. Sort of progressed along the debate somewhat, so you really do need to go back and watch the earlier videos if you're going to be able to appreciate this video. Another variant on the red herring that I talked about in the last video is to compare prostitution not to ordinary forms of employment like checkout operating, but to other dangerous forms of employment like military service or being a coal miner. But again, the danger or lack of danger in coal mining is irrelevant to whether or not prostitution is a dangerous profession. If coal mining is an exploitative and dangerous profession, then we should do something about coal mining, but for right now, we're talking about prostitution. And so often it's used to dismiss the issue like, oh, prostitution's not that bad, what about coal mining? But if the situation was reversed, and I was arguing that coal mining was bad because of the negative effects that it has on the people in the industry and the negative effects that the industry has on the community as a whole, and then someone was to come along and go, oh, don't worry about it, it's not really much worse than being a prostitute, it would seem completely insane. I think the reason that is because even though on the surface it appears that you're making the same comparison, the reason why the latter is seen as such a massive faux pas is because you're comparing men to women, which is very different in our society to comparing women to men. To be like a woman in our society is the ultimate sin. So when you compare prostitutes to coal miners, you're comparing women to men. And although our society believes that women are inferior, it's still seen as natural and just that they should try and aspire to be like men. Whereas if you were to compare coal miners to prostitutes, it would just be this complete abomination. Another issue which this red herring fails to recognize is why men are predominantly employed in the military and coal mining industries and why women are predominantly employed in the prostitution industry. Often it's presented like bad industry X targets men, bad industry Y targets women, so we're all equal. But the reason that men are targeted for employment in general is because it keeps them in an economically superior position. They're also targeted for jobs which involve manual labor because it's seen as natural that men are strong and physically active, while it's seen as unnatural for a woman to be employed in such an industry. And the same is true of the military. Men aren't targeted for the military to punish men. They're targeted to keep women out, to keep the tools and knowledge of combat into the hands of the dominant group. It's like going, oh, all the police officers in the segregated South were all white. The whites had to suffer as police officers. How bad was that? In short, men are targeted for these industries in order to preserve male power. And the general preference towards men in most other industries is what keeps women economically desperate enough to even consider prostitution. It's like an extreme version of the tipping system at restaurants and cafes. Instead of paying the servers a decent wage, they're paid slightly less than what is livable. This means that the servers are forced to be unnaturally accommodating to, and often accept abuse from, the customers, because the customers are responsible for paying them the extra money that they need to survive. Our economic system forces women into a similar situation. Be nice to the men, you need their money, and prostitution is this phenomenon's most extreme manifestation.